welcome to another episode of Always Up to Date. I'm Denise and this is Yahweh, and we are co-owners of Always Bookkeeping. How's it going, Yahweh?
Well, I love this day because we get to wear casuals.
Yes.
We never get to do that.
That's right. Perfect. So just before we start our topic, I just wanted to remind people that we're having our business boot camp on November 23rd. So if you're interested in that, you can go to Facebook and look up events, and you look up business boot camp, right? And it's through Spurl and Associates, Chartered Professional Accountants.
I think there is an event through Eventbrite as well.
Yes, that's right.
So you can search Beat the Odds, and it should show you the event for November 22nd, 23rd?
23rd.
23rd.
November 23rd,
whichever the Saturday is.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's only $20, and the amount of information that you get, it's unbelievable for $20. It's probably the best business decision you'll make. And both Yahweh and I are speaking at it, so there you go. So today our topic is going to be on moving expenses. And our quote for this video is Henry Ford, who's the founder of the Ford Motor Company. And he said that if everyone is moving forward together, then success takes care of itself. And the statistic that we have for you is from the Fraser Institute. And it said that the average Canadian pays 43% of income in taxes. So that's your tax, CPP, EI, GST, fuel tax, etc. And by comparison, on average, only 37% of the remaining income goes toward the basic necessities. So that's shelter, food, and clothing. We have the story about John Smith, who decided to move to be closer to his work with family. He spent a lot of money on moving expenses, and he was surprised that he was not able to claim all of his expenses for tax purposes as he moved less than 40 kilometers closer to his work. So we're going to try to answer some questions about moving expenses and what you can and cannot claim. So Yahweh, the first question that we have is, how do you determine if you are eligible to claim your moving expenses?
So there's three factors that you have to consider. First of all, you have to move 40 kilometers closer to your work, not necessarily 40 kilometers from your old place to the new place, but you have to be 40 kilometers closer to your work. So it's in, depending on where you're working, it's that perspective as opposed to, between the two places that you move from into. The other one is you have to be moving from both Canadian territories. So if you're moving from the US or you're moving somewhere else, you will not be able to claim the moving expenses. Another thing with the 40 kilometers, you must have sold or rented your old place, or at least tried to be able to claim these expenses, because you can't have two principal residences going at the same time. The third one is if you moved and you were not reimbursed for the moving expenses. I know some employers will reimburse you for everything that you incur in terms of moving expenses. So if anything gets reimbursed, then that part of your expenses cannot be claimed for tax purposes. Yeah.
Is there a maximum amount you can claim?
There is. It is limited to your income for your new employment. So if you're moving for employment or for business purposes, or if you're starting a new business at a different location, the moving expenses you can claim will be limited to the net income that you are going to be earning for that place. If you're moving for a full-time study, or if you're a student trying to move, you can also claim moving expenses. However, it's going to be limited to if you are receiving a grant from the government.
Can I claim the whole moving expenses for the whole family, or is it limited to just me?
If you have to move your entire family to the new location, you can definitely claim the whole expenses for the whole family, just not yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what if I move towards the end of the year and I'm reporting less than a full year of income?
So CRA actually allows you to carry forward the expenses for the following year. So if your moving expenses is a lot more and you think that your full yearly income is still lower or still higher than the moving expenses that you incurred, you can definitely carry forward some of the expenses that you were able to claim this year to the next year. Yeah.
And so what travel expenses can I claim when I move?
So anything related to your vehicle expenses like fuel, if you need a tire change, if you need a different set of insurance, that's part of the expenses that you can claim. You can also claim your meals that you have to pay for between traveling. There is also accommodations if you have to, let's say, rent a hotel for one night because the travel is going to be 2 days or longer than it should be, then you need to stay at a temporary location for a while before you are fully moved out. Then that's also eligible for you to claim. Yeah, temporary living expenses though, be careful because it's limited to 15 days. So if you do have to incur expenses and have to use temporary living expenses, or if you're renting a temporary place, let's say Airbnb, before your new house is ready, it's limited to 15 days of expenses that you can claim.
And what if I have to store my belongings somewhere before I move?
So storage and the actual action of moving, that can be claimed for moving expenses for tax purposes. So if you have, if you rented packers or movers or even the hauling and if a storage unit, or if you needed another insurance expense that's related to moving your belongings, then that is also included into your moving expenses and you can claim them.
And what if I did not sell my old residence right away and have to maintain it?
So if you weren't able to sell it right away, you can deduct some of the expenses that you incurred for maintaining it, like property tax, utilities, or any other stuff that you have incurred to be able to maintain your old place. You can claim it as long as you show, reasonable documents saying that you did try to sell the place right away. It just didn't happen right away. Or you tried to list it as a rental property, but it just didn't happen by the time you move. As long as CRA can see that it's reasonable and you've did all the efforts you can to rent and sold the place, you may be able to claim those expenses.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I used a real estate broker to sell my old house, can I claim those expenses?
Yeah, of course. You can use the commissions for the real estate agents. That's part of the expenses, not necessarily the full amount of the house that you bought, but anything that's included in, if you spent legal fees or registration fees for the new house, those are claimable expenses under moving expenses as well.
Okay. And what about utility connections and disconnections?
So those are part of incidental cost. You're able to claim them. So if you have to disconnect the utility for your old house and you have to connect a new one for your new house, that is claimable. Also, another items that are eligible, if you have to change, if you incur expenses in changing addresses in travel documents, like your not travel documents, just documents in general, like your operator's driver's license. If you have to change your address in that, or if you have to get a new vehicle permit for the new place. Those are incidental costs that can also be claimed under moving expenses for tax purposes.
Okay. And so what happens if I lose my receipts for, especially like my meals and vehicle expenses?
So definitely try to keep the receipts as much as you can, but there is something called a simplified method that CRA allows you. So it's about $17 per person, and I believe it's limited to $51 per day that you can spend on meals. And for travel purposes, the amount per kilometer that you can deduct is based on which province you're moving to. So in Alberta, it's about 48.5 cents per kilometer that you can claim. So if you traveled 1,000 kilometers, then you can claim sorry, my math's off, 485 I guess. $485. You can do the math. that you can claim for travel expenses. Be aware though, or be careful using the simplified method, because CRA might still ask for documentations or any proof that you did spend this much during your travel. So as much as you can, keep the receipts, but there is a simplified method that you can use for calculating meals and travel expenses. Yeah.
Great. That comes to the end of the questions that we have.
Oh,
Thanks,
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry. Last thing, if you have to cancel a lease, the lease cancellation fee is also available for moving expenses.
Great.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. So I hope you guys find this informative. If you have any questions or you have a topic in mind that you want us to talk about, please comment down below, and please don't forget to like and subscribe our videos. We'll see you guys next time at our next episode of Always Up to Date.